Cheers and welcome back to episode 2 of Between the Cons with me, Jale. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my deepest thanks to all the people who've subscribed to the channel in the past 24 hours. We've had over 1,000 views and well over 100 subscribers, and it's just grown far quicker than I ever thought it would. Just goes to show how much pent-up enthusiasm there is for the xenolinguistic side of Star Citizen. I'd like to extend a special thanks to Board Gamer for giving us a shout out. Without his support, I'm sure we wouldn't have grown anywhere near as fast, and I hope to be able to contribute to the wider community going forward. In the last episode, we got to grips with pronunciation and writing. Let's look ahead over the next few episodes to round out our sort of names module. In this episode, we're going to look at simple names that have direct equivalents in standard Xi'an pronunciation. In the next episode, we're going to look at how pitch is written and pronounced. In episode 4, we're going to look at features of the language which allow you to both say or write a non-standard name, or a bit more of a wider net for what we can allow in names. And episode 5, we're going to look at tips for actually writing that, putting down on paper, including perhaps having a little look at how I do my digital calligraphy effect. Name translation is an art, not a science. Your name is your name. It is a personal choice how you want it to be represented, and whether you want to try and get it as close to the human pronunciation, make it sound as Xi'an as possible, or just go for the craziest character you can come up with, that's a decision for you to make. I'm going to be trying to show you my style of approach, where I do try to make it sound as much like a natural Xi'an name as possible. Whether you follow that style is up to you, and I'll try to make all of the options as clear to you as possible throughout. To give us a quick overview, here's the 5 steps I follow when I'm translating a human name into Xi'an. Number 1, I identify the appropriate vowel sounds. Number 2, attach consonants to those vowels to form correct syllables. Number 3, consider if the name can be made any shorter by compromising the pronunciation. Number 4, I decide whether or not to elongate or improve any vowels. And then finally, I'll decide the pitch, which, as I say, we'll see in the next episode. Following these steps, we can translate a lot of names into Xi'an and get to grips with the language a bit more in the process. So let's start with a simple one-syllable example. Luke. So step 1, we're starting with the vowels. As you remember from the last episode, every one of the 4 common syllable patterns contains a vowel. Therefore, the number of vowels expresses the maximum number of syllables that we could possibly have in the name. While Luke is written in English with 2 vowels, the E is silent, so we're just left with the U, which is represented by the letter U in Xi'an. So there we go, there's our vowel. We'll then consider what consonants to use. Luke starts with an L, which is a consonant present in the Xi'an language. It ends with a K, which is both present and has a corner form. Don't worry about it being grayed out in the alphabet, that just means it's somewhat slangy and not formal. But it's fine for a human name. So the name Luke can be written as L-U-K. Step 3, this already gives us a one-syllable name, can't get any better than that. So we've not got any scope to make it shorter. Step 4. I look at the name and think about elongated vowels or some of the more interesting compound vowels. It might just be to make it sound a little bit better, put the stress in the right place, or to make the romanized version look a bit cooler. I think in this case a longer U sound is best. It's Luke rather than Luke. And I think that seeing as it's so short, a macron also adds a little bit of spice to how it looks in SRX, so I'm going to elongate the vowel. Our final result is this CVC syllable. We're going to add the pitch markings to it in the next episode, and you'll notice that we've got these 2 bars over it in black. You might remember them from the last episode when I showed that in the word for Xi'an. This is the Xi'an version of capitalisation. In a name, it'll always appear over the first syllable of the name, and it won't appear over the others. Sometimes in words you will get a capitalisation in the middle of the word, particularly when it references a species. So Ten Xi'an, which means food of the Xi'an, has a capitalisation in the middle, not at the start. Sao Shan, Sao Hume, which means the Xi'an Empire and the Human Empire, i.e. the UEE, they both have capitalisation on both Sao and the species, Xi'an, Hume. Now let's look at a 2-syllable name, Michael. The first syllable, the vowel's very easy. I is represented by AI, so there we go. I'm British, so I would often say Michael, which might be with the sound. But you could also just say the sound, so Michael. Perfectly fine. That's a bit of a place where choice will come into it, expressing your pronunciation of your name. Step 3. Can the name be made shorter? Xi'an loved to try and push things down to as few syllables as possible. You could drop the second syllable and just go for Mike, but that's a different name. It's up to you, and 2 syllables is fine. We've never seen a Xi'an name over 3 syllables, and it's then that you might want to start really thinking about cutting things down. But you can also get creative, as we'll look in episode 4. Step 4, vowel augmentation. I wouldn't extend the I here because I don't put the stress right at the beginning of the name. I also wouldn't change the because if you put a macron over that, it becomes Michael, which I would have considered a different name from the beginning. If you wanted to, you could put a Y in there and make it Michael, if that's the way you pronounce it. Go ahead. And these are the Xi'an characters we came up with the capitalisation marks. You might remember from the official videos that Xi'an can either be written vertically or horizontally, and I always think that vertical looks nice for names. Now let's try a 3-syllable name, and this time we're going to do a woman's name. Emily. Step 1, the vowels. E. Step 2, the consonants. Li. Perfectly simple. Step 3. We're at 3 syllables, and as I said, there aren't any examples that we've seen of Xi'an names that are 3 syllables or more. So can we make it 2 syllables? We could make it Emily, which I think preserves enough of the original pronunciation that people would understand it, and it gets us down to 2 syllables. So I'm going to do that. I think that this will also have the nice advantage of removing a rather sparse character from the middle of the name. Step 4, vowel augmentation. As before, we can't really change the on the start because that would make it A and it'd be Emily. We could elongate the E sound on the end, but I think it'd actually be more fun to put a Y in there again, so it actually ends up looking like a misspelled Emily. And here's the name written out in Xi'an script, without its pitch marks. To finish off our set, it would be good to go into the pitch episode with a 1-syllable female name. I've selected May. I'm not going to go through every step this time, just think for a second how we would translate May. While you think about that, let's summarise what we've learned in this episode. Number 1, native Xi'an names tend to be 1 or 2 syllables, but you're not obliged to follow that pattern. It's easiest to start by working out the vowels of each syllable. Capitalisation is denoted by 2 lines over a syllable, is found in the first syllable of proper names, and can appear in the middle of a word. And finally, it's your name, so it's your choice. As long as you're making good syllables like we defined in the last episode, nobody can really tell you that your name is wrong. So by now you might have an idea of how we would have written May, and this is what I came up with. The worksheet for this episode consists of a number of names for you to translate to Xi'an or back. Don't worry if you get slightly different answers from me. Part of that vowel augmentation step, I think a lot of style can come into it. You might at this point be worried that you still can't see how to translate your name into Xi'an. Don't worry, in episode 4 we're going to get a whole extra set of tools to help you with that. Please do like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and comment if you have any feedback, suggestions, or if you have any trouble with the worksheet. We'll be seeing all 4 of those names again next episode when we're going to put some pitch markings on it. I hope you'll join me for that, and until then, Jan Leko. Study well.